guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, some of me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Far Beyond the World. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right back into it, shall we? Please sit back and enjoy as I entertain you. Let's jump right in. Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Roommates making ribs. Both my roommates are making food right now. One's doing bread, doing like homemade butter and bread, and the other's making ribs and corn on and grilled corn on the cob and baked beans. And oh my goodness, y'all, it's gonna be a feast tonight. Anyway, I simply allow him some distance and keep to my own thoughts, especially since there's a lot to unpack here. Their exchange about Tano piqued my curiosity about the infamous fallout. How is Ranok an insulted party? I keep myself entertained with speculations, observing as the milestones slowly pass by. Were they friends who fell over some political scheme? Or forbidden lovers who came to a tragic end, or broke up due to the comedy of misunderstandings? Whatever their story is, I very much would like to hear it. At least my preoccupied mind keeps my attention of being tired and allows me to keep up with the wolf. But as always, that resolve quickly melts away as I can see the window between each of the stones we pass stretch out. By the time of our first break, we barely covered 6 miles. I'm already falling behind. You sure you're okay? He finally speaks up in a worried tone, passing me some jerky and a biscuit. I bite the stringy meat, pulling at it as if it were taffy, trying to rip out a chunk. I'm fine, just not sure if I can match your expectations, I mutter, chewing on the gummy meat. It seems to be much harder than I thought, and my thighs feel on fire. It's the rolling hills. Ranok bops his head towards the road. This part is quite the workout, even for us. He forces a smile. True, I can see it slithering up and down between the trees, but I think the main culprit is the backpack. I kick it begrudgingly. I'd do much better if we didn't have so much to carry. Well, I can take it off your back if it's too much. Might as well carry me, then. I snicker, looking at him with pity. Seriously, what was the point of bringing me here if I can't carry my own weight? I sigh, taking a long chug of the wine. I'll have to tough this one out. At least I broke those in. The wolf looks towards my shoes as I wiggle my feet. I have to stop to adjust them much less than before. Mm-hmm. He smiles, giving me a gentle, encouraging nuzzle. You'll be all right. He croons, but I look at him with worry. Are you, though? The conversation with those two have left you quieter than usual. Don't worry, it just gave me lots to think about. Same. I chuckle, trying to maintain some sense of levity. It seems our situations keep getting worse and worse. You remember when your father walked in on us, and after a whole night of waiting for your return, you told me I didn't know the half of it? You weren't kidding. And now that it turns out that you don't know the other half, seems like we're walking through this perfect shitstorm completely blind. Heh, eloquently put. He forces some amusement to his scoff, but it's clear he's deeply troubled. We'll be fine. I try to encourage him, bumping into his shoulder. We'll get the supplies and restore some faith in your father's leadership. Yeah. Somehow those words seem to have triggered him, and his mood took a greater dip, but the wolf doesn't give me a chance to prod. Let's not tarry, then. A lot hinges on this mission. Mm-hmm. I nod, jumping back to my feet, and soon enough we're on the road again. The worst part of the journey comes just after noon, when both my feet and legs are in an unspeakable agony. We slow down to a crawl, and Ranok offers to take an additional break every now and then, but I refuse. It hurts, but I feel that if we stop now, we won't get to move again. Besides, Vul was right. I can't continue to be Ranok's liability. If I want any of the wolves to see true value in me, to see me as someone reliable, I need to pull my weight and simply know when stuff has to be done without complaining. Somehow the image of Vul's disapproving look eggs me on as I push through this torturous phase. Surprisingly, within a few hours, the pain goes away and I proverbially walk it off. But despite the small victory, by the time we break off the camp for the night, I find that we only covered 19 miles. I gaze at the milestone in disappointment. SB-21. At least we're nearly there. You need any help? I speak in an unintentionally hushed tone. I lack energy to even speak, and the wolf picks up on that. No, I'm all good. You just sit down and relax. In truth, I know he's just saying that, but I don't have any willpower left in me to object, even if it makes me feel bad. I simply settle down, watching as the wolf gets everything set up on his own. I feel so useless watching him go about his task with absolute ease, but the rhythm of his work is also so soothing to watch. Ugh, alright. Coffee time. There we go. Oh yeah, that's the shit right there. My eyes get incredibly heavy and I let them rest for just a moment. Just a moment, he says. I think I drifted off, because once I open my eyes again, everything is done. I catch Ranok, who's now only in his pants, stepping out of the greenery with a bulging wineskin. Where were you? I mumble sleepily. There's a small spring nearby. Since we ran out of wine, I stocked up on water. Oh, good thinking. My nose twitches at a lovely smell coming from the fireplace. What's that? Caught another rabbit, and found some wild carrots, he says with a satisfied smile, and I looked at the bubbling pot with worry. How long was I out for? Not that long. The bugger practically walked in on me. He laughs, and I scramble to my feet to approach the pot. With any luck, this should be our last meal on the road, so I want it to be filling to give you a little boost. Thanks! I say through a smile and take a seat near the fire as he ladles a generous portion into a bowl. The warmth feels so wonderful on my skin, I take hold of a hot stew with glee. So warm. I'm sorry it's rabbit again. You must be getting pretty sick of it by now. Oh, shush. I scoff at him in amusement, taking a greedy spoonful. I'm grateful for anything you provide and simply glad to fill my belly. We enjoy the meal in silence, as I'm still slowly trying to collect myself from the short-lived slumber. But the stew hits the spot perfectly. I don't think I was ever this tired, but somehow this exhaustion feels nice. It makes me feel accomplished, and I appreciate moments of respite like this so much more. It's like this whole experience put color into the world around me. I finished my bowl with a sigh of contentment, licking my fingers clean and stepping into watching the wolf strip last bits of meat from the bones. Once we're done, we put away the dishes and splay ourselves comfortably against the nearby tree. I take a deep gulp from the water skin, crisp spring water quenching my thirst after a long day's march. We sit, huddled together, with me idly poking at the flames with a stick. The night is cool, but not too cold, with the fire pit gently caressing our skins. I give us some time to simply enjoy the moment, but once I see him slowly dozing off with his head now fully resting up on top of mine, I decide to speak up. You didn't have to go all this trouble. We could have just eaten what's left and call it a night. It's the least I can do. He shrugs and I place a paw on his shoulder. I know you're all about putting up a front, but I bet you two are at least a little bit tired. He smiles, pulling me in closer. Maybe, but this way I keep my mind busy. Besides, this is meant as a little bit of a distraction from a rather difficult conversation we probably should have. Oh? I raise my brow at him and he visibly cringes. It's about Father and Vithir and the whole shitstorm, as you put it, back at home. Basically everyone Aerof and Taliesin brought up. Everything. I really had enough of politics for one day. I chuckled between the gulps of water. I barely followed their conversation as it was. Besides, he seems to sulk each time the subject pops up. I'm too tired to drag our moods down. Can't it wait until Strandbard? I guess. The wolf shrugs unconvincingly, and I'm not sure how to read that. Do you want to talk about it now? Not really. He sighs heavily. I'd rather enjoy the time we have left to ourselves. My thoughts exactly. I nod in agreement. Besides, I'd much rather talk about you and Tano than your father and Vithir and the growing number of question marks surrounding them. Me and Tano? He blurts out, and I can swear there's a tinge of fear in his eyes. I'm sorry if this comes out of the blue, I mutter softly, drawing his groggy attention. I know it might be personal, but I was meaning to ask you about this for a while now. Hmm? The wolf croons, his coarse voice reverberating throughout his throat against my skin. Would you be able to tell me what happened between the two of you? Your infamous fallout was bothering me for a week when you were away, and now that Aerith brought it up? I really don't want to talk about that. Alright, y'all. Coffee time. I hear the clinking of utensils in the kitchen. Okay. I really don't want to talk about that. He pulls away slightly, his muzzle regaining alertness. It's all in the past, anyway. I'm not trying to reopen any old wounds, but I really would like to get to know you more. Past and all. Past and all. Easy for you to say. You don't have a past to weigh you down. Ranok scoffs playfully in my direction, but I frown, and he quickly retracts the statement. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to downplay it. I just envy you in that regard. It must feel liberating. It feels lonely and empty more than anything. I know very little about you, and even less about myself. I can't help it on my front. Would be nice to change it on yours. I fix my expectant gaze on him, and the wolf groans, rubbing his neck in annoyance. Ugh, I had hoped we could avoid this conversation altogether. Why? Because I'm afraid you'll think less of me. How could I? I give him an encouraging smile. I doubt you did anything that could change my opinion of you. And even if you did, you still have a credit of trust and sympathy far exceeding anyone else's. Despite my honest words, he looks worriedly into the fire, and I place my hand on his shoulder. I spent nearly a week without you. In that time, I realized that despite not knowing you all that well, I want to be there for you, just as you've been there for me. In love or friendship, it doesn't really matter. I shake my head in amusement. All I want is to accept you for who you are, baggage and all, the good, the bad, and the frisky. My voice takes on a playful tone, and I bite my lower lip, drawing a reluctant chuckle from the male. Who are you, and what did you do with that trembling little kid I left at my cottage? Don't change the subject with backhanded flattery. I smirked, giving a more serious look. Can't blame a wolf for trying. Was there something romantic between you and Tano? Is it that obvious? He raises his brow at me, and I shrug awkwardly. Not at first, no, but the more I heard from others, the more apparent it became. What happened? I ask, and at first he seems like he's not going to give me an answer. The wolf straightens up and looks into the fire, allowing a moment of silence to take over, until he finally breaks it in a hushed voice. Tano was my friend. A very close one. Closer than Vul? Don't ever tell him that. He snorts, but a heavy sigh quickly escapes his lips. But yes, he was. No one ever got as close to me as he did. Until I met you, that is. He pops his head in my direction. Tano saw me, just like you do, for who I am, a wolf who struggles to find his place in the tribe. The more comfortable we became in each other's company, the more brazen and touchier we got. He made me discover things about myself I never dared to imagine. He made me realize that I was somewhat different than others. And that he was different too. The tone of his voice makes it clear that he's still struggling with that side of him. I feel saddened as the wolf hangs his head between his knees, looking resigned into the dirt. Now, with you added into the mix, it's beyond doubt that I enjoy males as much as females. I even seem to have a type. He scoffs, aiming to lighten the mood as I smile. Did you and Tano ever... I found myself stumbling on these words, driven by my own curiosity. Not fully, but we did stuff. Sorry. The wolf mumbles apologetically, and I shake my head. Whatever for? It's not like we know... It's not like we know I'm a first-timer. Heh, yeah. We were quite young and having sex. It clouded things. It made me less sensible and allowed everything to move too fast. It was intoxicating. He was intoxicating, but... But? I asked, drawing a wince from his muzzle. It's really hard for him to open up about this, but eventually he speaks up. Tano wanted more than I could possibly offer. I should have known better. I knew better. He chastises himself, poking angrily at his forehead. I knew who he was and how he acted. I knew him better than he himself did. I knew he was a pup that sees everything as a fucking game, and I still fell for it. Fell for what? His pretend maturity. I should have known he would not be able to handle things. What did he do? One night he confessed his love, and I confessed mine. I did love him at the time. Coffee time! Ranok looks to me with all the seriousness he can muster, and I nod. I believe you. So, he proposed we elope. Run off to some tigery town and live our days happily ever after in imaginary bliss. It seemed so outlandish and far-fetched, thought it was just a heat-of-the-moment talk. So, like an idiot, I humored him and said that it did sound nice. The wolf cringes, and I have an inkling where this is heading. He always aims to please, never wanting to disappoint, even when sometimes it's the right thing to do. I smile at him empathetically and rub his arm, trying to give him courage to continue, and he does. As I said, I should have known better. But at first it seemed no damage was done. Just as I thought, he never brought it up again, and everything returned to normal. We did our duty, we met in secret, and everything was... good. For the first time in my life, I was happy, and I didn't feel alone. He sighs with a soft smile, and my heart goes out to him. Despite not being there to witness his loneliness, I felt it through his desperate need for proximity. Having Tano around must have been a blessing he'd do anything to keep as long as possible. But that's when the story deviates from my expectation of his tone, and his tone sours. Over time, I noticed that Tano demanded more and more of me. I began neglecting my duty. I was shedding off my responsibilities, all to appease him and give us some more quality time. Same for him. It was bad. Really bad. He mutters, rubbing his temples in clear frustration at his past failings. It had gotten to the point where he nearly lost his position as an alpha. That was a wake-up call for me, and I thought it would be one for him too. He says in a defeated tone. When he said he wanted to talk urgently, I hoped he wanted to work out how to fix things, so he met in secret underneath his name tree. At worst, I thought he finally saw sense and wanted to break it off. It would have hurt to lose what we had, but at least we would still remain friends and save our positions in the tribe. We were close to being discovered, with him getting more obvious and brazen with each passing week. It's as if he was tempting fate and trying to see how far he can push our luck. It would have spelled doom to us both. I nod understanding. But Tano didn't see reason. Instead, he appeared almost insane. Out of nowhere, after 6 months of never bringing this up, he demanded that we run off that very night. We were to steal some gold from the villa and simply be on our way. Wolf scoffs mockingly, and I look towards the heavy chest. I can't believe Tano would have gone that far, to suggest robbing his own people. It wasn't even formed as a suggestion or a request. It It was a decision he made, claiming I've promised to follow through. But I never made such promise. He shakes his head and I place my hand on his shoulder. He heard what he wanted to hear, and my opinion in the end didn't matter. Why would it? I wasn't a person at that point, I was an accessory. Subtle tremors rock his body, and I can't decide whether they're caused by anger or pain. His expression is equally dubious as his muzzle struggles to contain a slight snarl from appearing. You should have known that I would never be able to live my life in some tigery backwater with the knowledge that I have turned my back on my family and friends. My tribe, my people! He says spitefully, locking his gaze in some distant vision of Tano. How could he think that I would steal from my own father and live off that ill-gained money? Realizing he's slowly losing composure, the wolf cuts off and throws his gaze to the side. I try not to look at him directly, giving him some needed space to collect himself. He blinks away the moisture from his eyes and shakes his head, taking a deep breath. Once he releases all that pent-up tension through a sigh, he looks back to me with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. I shake my head in protest. What is he even apologizing for? I just couldn't believe what he was saying. Of all the wolves, how could he be the one to shrug it off all so easily? What do you mean? Oh. Alright guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Leave a super thanks for a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!